Officer, let the record show the court does not appreciate your display of disrespect. Officer, your testimony regarding the missing evidence is inconsistent with the report. Can you explain why?
It's accurate, Your Honor.
The gavel cracked against the woodshop. Final. Amara Cole didn't flinch, but her fingers trembled beneath the table. The courtroom smelled of paper, sweat, and the faint metallic temps of humiliation. Across from her, Officer Brett Langley leaned back in his seat, the corner of his mouth twisting into something between a smirk and a sneer. "Guess justice don't wear Prada," he muttered, loud enough for the jurors to hear. The laughter that followed wasn't loud, it was worse. Contained, controlled, the kind that said you don't belong here. Amara stared at him, her pulse a drumbeat behind her ribs. The irony cut deep. She'd built her life on precision, grace, and silence. CEO of her own tech consulting firm, she was supposed to be untouchable, until a traffic stop turned into handcuffs, mugshots, and headlines that stripped her name down to a color. The judge's voice faded behind the roar in her ears. Cameras clicked like insects feeding. The officer's laughter followed, echoing a sound she'd never forget. "Next time," he whispered as she passed, "try not to look suspicious, driving your own car." Her heels clicked once, twice, against the marble floor, then stopped. She turned, eyes locked on his. Calm, cold. "You'll see me again," she said. The words didn't sound like a threat. They sounded like a promise. Outside, the press lights flashed white, blinding. Somewhere, deep in the courthouse, a printer word spitting out a document with her company's name embossed at the top. An officer. Langley's transfer papers attached. The rain came in sheets, heavy and uneven, blurring the city lights into a smear of gold and gray. Amara Cole's Tesla glided through the wet streets. Music low, phone silent. Her day had been long. 3 client calls, 1 canceled flight, 2 ignored texts from her mother reminding her to rest. Not proof. She should have been home already. The siren came without warning, a single, slicing wail that cut through the hum of the wipers. Blue and red lights flared behind her. She pulled over. For a moment, she sat still, fingers tight on the steering wheel. The rain pattered like static against glass. She took a slow breath. Her registration was in the glove box, her license in her wallet. Nothing to fear, nothing to prove. The officer approached, boots splashing in the puddles, tall, square-shouldered, white. His flashlight cut through the window like an accusation. License and registration. His tone wasn't neutral. It was performance, controlled disguised as routine. Amara handed both through the window. "Is there a problem, officer?" He looked over the license, then her face. "This your car?" "Yes." "You're sure about that?" Her jaw tightened. "The registration's right there." He leaned in closer, eyes scanning the interior like it might confess something. "Mind stepping out for me?" "For what reason?" He smiled. "Just protocol." It wasn't. She knew it. Everyone who looked like her knew it. The rain grew louder. "Officer," she said carefully, "I've complied with every request." He tapped her window with his flashlight once, hard enough to make her flinch. "Step out of the car, ma'am." Her reflection in the glass looked back at her calm, calculated. She opened the door slowly, the cold air swallowing her warmth. "Hands where I can see them." She did. He circled her car. "Company vehicle, huh? Cole Analytics. You work there." "I own it." He laughed, a short, barking sound. "Sure you do." The dashcam caught the smirk, the shift in posture, the faint insult wrapped in disbelief. "Ma'am, I'm gonna need to check the VIN number." She folded her arms. "You can read it through the windshield. Or," he said, stepping closer, "you can make this easy." The headlights of passing cars flared, one by one, and no one stopped. The world moved on, indifferent. Amara inhaled. "You're out of line." His hand twitched toward his radio. "Say that again," I said. He grabbed her wrist, hard. The sound of rain vanished beneath the sudden chaos, the slam of metal, the snap of plastic restraints. Her voice was calm but sharp. "You're being recorded." "Good," he muttered. "Then the world can see you resisting." "Resisting what?" "Arrest." Her heart hammered. "For driving my car. For refusing lawful orders." The camera on his vest blinked red. Her breath came fast now, controlled fury pressing behind her ribs. "This is wrong," she said quietly. He smirked. "You people always say that." The words hit like a slap. Flashlights, radios, another cruiser pulling up. She was guided, no, shoved toward it. Her heels slipped on the wet asphalt, through the windshield. Her reflection was a blur of color and rain. but her eyes, sharp and unbroken, caught the camera's lens one last time. "Record everything," she whispered. And the world did. The fluorescent light hummed above her like a fly trapped behind glass. Amara sat on the narrow bench, wrists stiff, back straight. The holding cell smelled of bleach and regret, a scent she recognized from old courthouse corridors, the kind that never really washed away. Her reflection in the steel mirror looked foreign. Mascara smudged, blazer creased, dignity bruised but intact. Outside, muffled voices carried laughter, a coffee machine grinding. She heard a name, her name, said like a curiosity. "Yeah, that's her. The executive. Guess money. Don't stop suspicion." Huh. The guard didn't bother whispering when the door clanged open. Her attorney, a short, sharp-eyed man named Reyes, appeared with his tie slightly undone and a face that read both fury and fear. "Amara," he said, tone clipped, "don't say another word." She hadn't planned to. They walked through the hallway lined with buzzing fluorescent lights. The officers at the desk didn't meet her eyes. One of them smirked anyway. The paperwork slid across the counter. Release on no apology. No explanation. Outside, the flash of cameras blinded her. "Ms. Cole, did you resist arrest? Were you intoxicated? Was it mistaken identity?" Reyes shielded her with an arm. "No comment," he barked, ushering her toward the waiting car. Inside, the air felt thicker than before. She stared out the tinted window as reporters' reflections flickered by like ghosts. Reyes exhaled heavily. "The footage will clear you, but public opinion's already forming." Amara's voice was low. "They won't see the footage. They'll see the photo, the cuffs, the rain, the headline." He didn't argue. He knew she was right. By morning, her face was everywhere. Black executive detained in vehicle error. Cops under fire for unintentional misstep, race or resistance. Footage under review. Every outlet used a different picture. One mid-blink, one off balance, one with her mouth open like she was yelling. They crafted their own truth from angles. Inner penthouse. Amara sat in silence. The television ran without sound. Her assistant Leela hovered nearby. "Ma'am, the board's asking for a statement." "No." PR drafted one. "No." Lila hesitated. They're saying maybe it's better to keep it quiet. Wait for it to pass." Amara turned slowly. The investors." A bitter smile ghosted across Amara's lips. Of course, her phone buzzed again. A message from an anonymous number. "Should have done what he said. Would have saved your career." She deleted it without hesitation. Then opened another, from her mother. "I saw the news. Come home. Don't fight them. Just come home." Amara closed her eyes. Her mother's words had always been soft shields, but this time they felt like surrender. Later that afternoon, Reyes returned with updates. "They're offering to drop the resisting charge," he said, "if you agree not to pursue civil action. Internal review will call it procedural confusion." Her reply came slow, deliberate. "So they want me quiet." He nodded. "And they'll keep him on duty." He didn't answer. "That's what silence costs," she murmured. "Amara, I built a company from scratch," she interrupted. "I navigated investors who assumed I was the intern, clients who called me articulate like it was praise. And now, one officer erases all that with a smirk, and you want me to let it slide." Reyes rubbed his temples. "You're not wrong. But the system protects its reflection," she finished. "I've seen it before." Their eyes met, his full of weary caution, hers burning with resolve. That evening, she logged into her company's dashboard. Emails flooded in, some supportive, most carefully neutral. "We stand with you. We trust justice will prevail. We advise you to step back from public appearances until this settles." She scrolled until she reached one from the board chair. "For optics. It might be best if our coup speaks for the company during this time." Temporarily, her jaw locked. "Optics." She replied only. Noted. Then, she opened a new tab, searching Brett Langley complaints. Nothing surfaced. Just commendations, service records, and hollow quotes about community policing. Her pulse steadied. That silence was too clean to manage. Hours passed. The city dimmed outside her window, the skyline fractured by rain again. On her desk sat the same business card Reyes had handed her weeks ago. "Call me anytime." She flipped it over, scribbling 2 words instead. "Fight back." Leela's voice came softly from the doorway. "Are you okay?" "No," Amara said. And that's the point. Her reflection in the window stared back, not the polished CEO, not the composed strategist, someone sharper, someone cornered into clarity. She looked at her hands, remembering the officer's grip, the sound of his laugh. Schedule a press meeting, she said quietly. Lila froze. A press? But the board, schedule it. Amara, that could ruin it, already did. Outside, lightning cut through the dark, illuminating the skyline for a heartbeat. Amara's eyes didn't move from the glass. If they want quiet, she whispered, they picked the wrong woman. The television flickered on in the corner, a rerun of the morning broadcast looping her arrest footage. Paused, mid-frame rain. Flashing lights, her hand restrained. Then, faintly beneath the hum of static, she heard the officer's voice from the clip. You sure this your car? She stared at the frozen image, voice steady, barely above a breath. Yes, she said. To no one, to everyone. And the silence that followed was louder than any headline. The courtroom was too bright, harsh, clinical light bouncing off the pale wood panels, every corner scrubbed of color. It wasn't justice's chamber, it was theater. Amara sat at the defense table beside Reyes. Her posture was perfect, her silence sharper than any weapon. Across the room, Officer Brett Langley leaned back in uniform, his smirk faint but practiced. He'd been trained to look composed, trustworthy, a guardian of order. He caught her glance and mouthed, "Still your car." The words hit like static. Reyes whispered, "Ignore him." "I am," she replied, but her pulse betrayed her. The judge entered. All rise. The shuffling sound of obedience filled the air. Amara stood, every movement measured, deliberate, the choreography of survival. When they sat, the prosecutor began his opening. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, this case is not about race. It is about compliance. That single line, neat and poisonous, landed like a verdict before evidence. He continued, voice smooth. The defendant, Ms. Cole, refused a lawful order. Officer Langley, acting within protocol, detained her to ensure safety. Any claim otherwise is misinterpretation amplified by media sensationalism. Reyes scribbled something on his notepad. He's framing it as discipline, not bias. Amara didn't need the reminder. She could feel it, the unspoken rule, that tone mattered more than truth, that her composure would be twisted into arrogance if held too long. When Reyes rose to speak, his tone was controlled fire. Ms. Cole complied. The dashcam footage will show that what this case is about is presumption, the kind that decides who looks guilty before words are exchanged. Langley's lawyer objected. Speculation. Sustained, the judge said quickly. Reyes pressed on, then let the footage speak. The courtroom dimmed slightly as the screen flickered on. Rain, headlights, Amara's calm voice. Is there a problem, officer? Then his voice. This your car? A murmur rippled through the audience. The footage cut to her being handcuffed. Reyes let the silence linger. That is the sound of bias, he said. Langley's attorney stood immediately. Objection. Counsel is editorializing. The judge frowned. Stick to the facts, Mr. Reyes. Reyes nodded. The facts are right there, Your Honor. You just have to listen. During recess, Amara stepped into the hallway lined with glass panels and vending machines humming faintly. Reporters stood waiting like vultures. Ms. Cole, any comment? Do you feel the officer targeted you because of race? Do you plan to sue the city? She didn't respond. A camera flash caught her mid-step, and she wondered how that image would be used, defiant or guilty, depending on the headline. From behind her came a voice she recognized instantly. Didn't think I'd see you back here so soon. She turned. Langley. No cameras now, just him. You should have taken the deal, he said softly. You're not built for this. Amara's voice was even. You think I built a company from nothing because I break easy. His smirk deepened. You built it, in their world. I work for it. Then you should know, she said, stepping closer. Systems built on rot always collapse. He chuckled, leaning against the wall. Yeah, maybe. But when they fall, it's never the builders who get crushed first. Her throat tightened. Not from fear, but from clarity. He didn't even believe he was wrong. That was the rot itself. Back inside, testimony resumed. A police sergeant took the stand, explaining protocol like scripture. Officer Langley followed standard operating procedures, he said. The subject's tone was elevated. Reyes interjected. You mean she questioned him? The sergeant hesitated. She appeared agitated. Would you say the officer was agitated? No. Even when he struck her window with his flashlight. That was to gain compliance. Reyes raised a brow. From a seated, unarmed woman, Langley's lawyer objected again. The judge sighed, overruled, under breath. The sergeant adjusted his tie. Officers are trained to respond to perceived threats. And what, exactly, made Ms. Cole a threat? The pause was too long. Her behavior. Reyes stepped closer. Or her presence. The courtroom froze. The sergeant's silence was answer enough. By day's end, Amara walked out with the weight of 1,000 unspoken verdicts pressing down. The official decision was continuance. Delayed justice. The system's favorite tactic. Outside, a light drizzle began again. Cameras waited, but she kept walking, heels steady against the concrete. Reyes caught up. They'll stretch this out, you know. Months, maybe years. She stopped beneath the courthouse steps, eyes scanning the skyline. Then I'll stretch to Langley's confidant. The department's behind him. She glanced over her shoulder. So was the system behind every man who underestimated me. Reyes studied her, uncertain whether to admire her or worry for her. You can't win this in their court. Amara's gaze hardened. Then I'll change the venue. That night, she stood in her office overlooking the city. Lights scattered like a map of decisions. Her reflection in the glass looked calm again, but her voice, when it came, was anything but. They want a quiet scandal, she said into her phone. I'll give them a public reckoning. The voice on the other end, a journalist she trusted once, hesitated. You're sure? I'm done surviving. It's time they explain why I had to. She ended the call, shut the lights, and let the darkness settle. Not as fear, but as focus. Tomorrow, the narrative would begin to shift. And when it did, Officer Langley would discover what real exposure felt like. The news cycle had cooled, but the whispers hadn't. 2 weeks after the court hearing, Amara's name had become a cautionary tale in corporate circles. Brilliant CEO, wrong place, wrong tone. One commentator said on a business talk show. The segment ended with a smile. The polite kind used to bury truth under professionalism. At Cole Analytics, her absence in client meetings hadn't gone unnoticed. The receptionist avoided her eyes. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. Her board chair, Martin Graves, called her into a casual check-in. He smiled as she sat down. Too polished, too deliberate. Amara, you've been under enormous strain. We all have. The press situation, well, it's distracting investors. I'm aware, she said evenly. I think, he continued, a temporary step back might protect both your image and the firm's stability. She folded her hands. You mean, protect the firm from my image? He chuckled awkwardly. You know how optics work. Clients are nervous. They want reassurance. She leaned forward. Then reassure them that their CEO doesn't fold when systems fail. His jaw tightened. You're making this personal. It is personal, she said, rising. When a man with a badge decides my skin tone voids my credentials, that's not optics. That's structural. He exhaled through his nose, tapping his pen. If this continues, we'll have to consider board intervention. Then consider it. She walked out before he could reply. By evening, her inbox overflowed again. Statements from friends, messages from strangers, and one new headline that shattered her focus. Officer cleared pending review. Department finds no misconduct. Her phone buzzed seconds later. Raises Amara. Don't, she cut him off. They cleared him. It's procedural, he said. Internal reviews always. She hung up. The rain returned that night, tapping the glass like memory. She poured herself a drink she didn't finish. Her reflection in the window blurred, half woman, half shadow. That's when the email came. No sender name, just a line in the subject bar. You're not his first. She opened it. Attached were 3 PDFs, complaint summaries, names blacked out, identical phrasing. Officer displayed aggressive behavior during stop, filed as resolved. Her pulse slowed. Her anger DIDN, single quotes T. The next morning, she met Reyes at a cafe downtown. He looked exhausted. Anonymous leaks aren't admissible, he said. If you use this, they'll claim fabrication. Then, we verify, she said. How? She slid her phone across the table, showing the contact ID. Marla Jenkins, Tribune Investigations. Reyes blinked. You reached out to her? She reached out to me. Amara, journalists don't protect you. They profit off you. Her tone didn't waver. I'm not asking for protection. I'm asking for exposure. He sighed, pressing his palms against his temples. You're turning this into a war. It already is one. Later, in a quiet corner of a parking garage, Amara met Marla, mid-30s, sharp eyes, coffee in hand, the smell of adrenaline and risk around her. I heard your board's losing confidence, Marla said casually. They'll turn if you push too hard. I don't need their faith, Amara replied. I need their silence. Marla grinned. Good answer. It's procedural, he said. Internal reviews, always. She hung up. The rain returned that night, tapping the glass like memory. She poured herself a drink she didn't finish. Her reflection in the window blurred, half woman, half shadow. That's when the email came. No sender name, just the line in the subject bar. You're not his first. She opened it. Attached were 3 PDFs, complaint summaries, names blacked out, identical phrasing. Officer displayed aggressive behavior during stop, filed as resolved. Her pulse slowed. Her anger, DIDN single quotes. The next morning, she met Reyes at a cafe downtown. He looked exhausted. Anonymous leaks aren't admissible, he said. If you use this, they'll claim fabrication. Then we verify, she said. How? She slid her phone across the table, showing the contact ID, Marla Jenkins, Tribune Investigations. Reyes blinked. You reached out to her. She reached out to me. Amara, journalists don't protect you. They profit off you. Her tone didn't waver. I'm not asking for protection. I'm asking for exposure. He sighed, pressing his palms against his temples. You're turning this into a war. It already is one. Later, in a quiet corner of a parking garage, Amara met Marla. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, coffee in hand, the smell of adrenaline and risk around her. I heard your board's losing confidence, Marla said casually. They'll turn if you push too hard. I don't need their faith, Amara replied. I need their silence. Marla grinned. Good answer. The newsroom smelled like burnt coffee and deadlines. Monitors flickered, phones buzzed, voices overlapped, a symphony of pressure and adrenaline. Marla Jenkins sat hunched over her desk, the glow from her screen painting sharp lines across her face. Amara stood behind her, watching as file after file appeared on the screen. Internal memos, complaint records, time-stamped approvals from supervisors, each one the same pattern. Incident, dismissal, silence, 3 years of reports, Marla murmured, all sanitized. You're not wrong. This department eats its own evidence. Amara's voice was low. How many names? Too many. Marla turned her monitor. Rows of blacked-out complainants scrolled past. Langley's been flagged 7 times, all marked resolved internally. He's protected. Amara folded her arms, steady but cold. Then it's time that protection burns. Marla looked at her. You realize what happens when this goes live. You'll be in every headline again, not as the victim this time, as the instigator. They'll smear you harder. Amara didn't flinch. I'd rather be accused of fighting than erased for complying. They worked late into the night. Dialogue filled the space between exhaustion and fury. Marla, we'll need confirmation from one other source, an insider. Amara, I can get you one. Marla, who? Amara, the officer who left the force last year, Corporal Devine. He quit after Langley's promotion. Marla's brows lifted. You still have his contact. Amara nodded. He reached out once, said, not all of us get to walk away clean. I think he's been waiting for this. She called him that night. The phone rang 5 times before a gravelly voice answered. Cole, yes. A pause. Then, you're really going through with it. Were you ever not? Silence, stretched. Meet me at the parlor, tomorrow, noon. Don't come alone. She glanced at Marla. He's in. The next day, the parlor cafe buzzed with the sound of cheap jazz and conversations hiding secrets. Devine sat in the corner, gray hoodie up, eyes scanning exits. He looked older than his years, tired, haunted. Amara sat across from him. Marla set a recorder on the table. Devine spoke first. Langley should have been suspended in 21. A kid ended up with a concussion. Because he fit the description. I filed the report. My captain made it disappear. Marla leaned forward. You're saying the department tampered with records? He laughed bitterly. Tampered. They recycled them. Same templates, same closure notes. The system doesn't fail. It performs exactly as designed. Amara's voice cut through quietly. Why are you helping us? Devine looked down. Because I kept quiet then, and I see what that silence turned into now. Marla clicked the recorder off. This is enough to publish. He nodded once, then added, careful who you trust. They'll spin this before it lands. By evening, Marla's article hit the Tribune's homepage. Internal leaks reveal pattern of concealed misconduct in City Police Department. Officer Brett Langley named in multiple sealed complaints. It spread like a spark across dry ground. Social media erupted. Hashtags trended. Former detainees came forward. Talk shows debated whether this was isolated corruption or systemic decay. Cole Analytics phone lines lit up. clients demanding statements, investors asking for distance. The board met in emergency session. Martin Graves called her that night. What the hell did you do? She stood by her window again, city lights slicing across her face. I told the truth. You've dragged this firm into a political scandal. It was already political. You just didn't see it until it threatened your balance sheet. His voice hardened. Step down, Amara, tonight, before you take us all down with you. She smiled faintly. If the company collapses because I stood up, it was never stable to begin with. He slammed the call shut. Marla's next text came at 2:13 a.m. Langley's union just issued a statement. They're calling you a manipulative agitator, Amara replied. Expected. Another text followed seconds later. They also leaked edited dashcam footage. Your shouting looks bad without context. She stared at the message for a long moment. Her pulse didn't rise. Her breathing didn't change. She knew this was coming. Retaliation was inevitable. Her laptop chimed, notifications exploding. Aggressive CEO meltdown trended within hours. Comment sections filled with venom and conspiracy. The world that had cheered her resilience now called her unstable. But beneath the noise, something shifted. A headline from a smaller outlet read, "Former officer confirms leaked documents. Langley was always protected." Another read, "Department promises full review after public backlash." She closed the screen slowly. The damage was done to both of them. By dawn, Amara stood on her balcony as sirens wailed somewhere in the distance. The city smelled of rain and exhaust, the familiar scent of false renewal. Leela's voice came through the phone, groggy. "The board's meeting again. They'll probably vote you out." "I know," Amara said. "What are you going to do? Show up? To defend yourself? To remind them I built this company?" Amara said, eyes fixed on the horizon. "And I can build again without their permission." She ended the call, turned back toward her living room where the news broadcast looped again, her own face, Langley's photo beside it, the headline between them, "One woman's fight against a broken system." And for the first time in weeks, she didn't look away, because finally, the silence wasn't hers. The boardroom was a glass cage suspended in the city's skyline. Morning light glared off the table's polished surface, reflecting 12 faces, some anxious, some indifferent, one seething. Amara entered in a crisp charcoal suit. Her heels echoed like gavel strikes as she crossed to her chair. The murmurs quieted. Martin Graves, the chairman, adjusted his tie and began. "Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone this is a closed session, no recordings." Amara took her seat, calm but alert. "Transparency still scares you, Martin." He shot her a tight smile. "What scares me is bad publicity crippling a billion-dollar firm." "That's not fear," she said evenly. "That's greed, pretending to be prudence." A ripple of discomfort ran through the room. Board member 1. "Amara, the allegations against Officer Langley have nothing to do with coal analytics, Amara, except that our facial recognition tech was used to justify his arrests." Board member 2. "That's the department's misuse, not ours, Amara. It's our software, our responsibility." Silence. The truth landed like a stone. Martin interlaced his fingers. "We're here to discuss your position as CEO. The media firestorm has cost us 2 contracts and scared investors. You've made yourself a liability." Amara's eyes were sharp, cutting through his performance. "I made this firm profitable. I brought in those same investors. Don't pretend my conscience is your problem." Martin stood, voice rising. "It is when your conscience threatens the company's survival." Her response was calm, surgical. "You mean your survival?" A lawyer in the corner cleared his throat. "Per company bylaws, a majority vote may initiate temporary suspension pending investigation." Martin nodded. All in favor. Hands rose, one after another, hesitant, guilty, some almost trembling. Amara watched each one, expression unreadable. When the last hand lifted, Martin's mouth curled. Motion passed. She rose slowly, collecting her folder. "Congratulations," she said quietly. "You've just voted against the only person protecting you from what's coming." Martin's smirk faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" Amara met his gaze. "You think the public will blame me alone? The contracts, the data misuse. I have the paper trail. Every approval with your signature." The air thinned. Martin's jaw flexed. "You wouldn't." "I already did," she interrupted softly. "Marla Jenkins has everything." A wave of whispers burst across the table. Martin slammed his palm against the wood. "You leaked company data. That's grounds for justice," Amara said. "If I go down, it'll be telling the truth. How about you? Security entered, summoned by someone near the end of the table. The lead guard, a young white man with the same blue eyes as Langley, stepped forward. "Ma'am, you'll need to come with us." Amara turned to him, her tone measured. "You're just doing your job, right?" He hesitated, unsure if it was a question or a test. "Yes, ma'am." "Then make sure you're proud of how you do it," she said. Walking toward the door, the board watched in silence as she left. The woman who built their empire, walking out under escort like a criminal. Down in the lobby, reporters swarmed like vultures. Cameras flashed. "Ms. Cole, are you stepping down? Did you leak confidential data? Do you regret going public about Officer Langley?" She paused at the revolving doors, the noise pressing in like a storm. Then she said clearly, "No comment, but the truth doesn't need my defense. It'll stand on its own." The flashbulbs flared brighter. That evening, Marla called. "They ousted you. Unanimously. You knew they would." "Yes." Amara's voice was quiet but steady. "I just wanted to see which of them still had a pulse." Marla exhaled. "The article's going nuclear. 2 officials already resigned. Internal Affairs just opened a formal case against Langley." Amara closed her eyes, absorbing that. "And the firm. Investors are panicking. But one of your minority shareholders just sent a statement defending you. A group of black women entrepreneurs. They called you the mirror this system fears. It's trending." Amara let a tired smile form. "Then it's worth it." The next day, she was gone from the city. Her apartment stood empty, furniture wrapped, walls bare. Only one framed photo remained on the counter, her and her mother. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, the day Cole Analytics opened, Leela found it later and texted her. "You really left?" Amara replied, "Sometimes you have to step back to see how the system collapses." Across town, Martin sat in his office watching the markets crash. Contracts frozen, clients questioning compliance, news banners rolled. Cole Analytics implicated in data ethics scandal. CEO Amara Cole ousted amid controversy. Whistleblower protections invoked. He slammed his desk. "She played me." But beneath his anger was something colder, fear, because deep down, he knew she hadn't played him. She'd just refused to play by him. That night, Marla's next article dropped. Leaked emails expose board's complicity in data abuse. Evidence provided by anonymous source. Anonymous, but everyone knew. By dawn, the firm's stock had plummeted 43%. And somewhere on a quiet coastal road, Amara drove with the windows down, the morning wind lifting her braids. Her phone buzzed with a message from Marla. "Langley suspended. DOJ launching an inquiry. It's starting." She didn't reply. She just whispered to herself, "Good." Then, softly as if to the ghosts she'd left behind, "Now let's see what they build from the ruins." The city awoke to chaos. News vans clogged downtown intersections, their satellites pointed skyward like metal spines. Office workers streamed past protesters carrying signs that read "Coded Racism Kills" and "Data Has Blood too." Cole Analytics logo, once a symbol of progress, now glared from every news banner like a brand of guilt. Inside headquarters, Martin Graves was drowning. The boardroom that once echoed with polished confidence now stank of fear, burnt coffee, sleepless bodies, desperation. "Delete the emails," one executive barked. "We can claim tampering." "Too late," another muttered. "The backups are public domain now." Some Reddit group mirrored everything. Martin slammed a fist on the table. "Find Amara. Get her on record saying this was personal retaliation." Silence. Finally, Leela spoke, standing in the doorway, calm but defiant. "She won't lie for you." Everyone turned. She stepped forward, badge clipped to her blazer, eyes steady. "You used her, all of you. Her work built this company. Her ethics kept it human. You stripped that away, and now you want her to save you from yourselves." Martin rose, red-faced. "You're fired." Lila smiled faintly. "Already resigned." She dropped a small flash drive on the table. "That's the board chat log, the one where you approved data suppression. Enjoy your legacy." She walked out before anyone could move. By noon, the DOJ press conference began. Cameras flashed as a stern woman in a navy suit addressed the crowd. Following leaked communications, Cole Analytics is under federal investigation for data malpractice and civil rights violations. Several board members are now persons of interest. A reporter shouted, "What about the former CEO, Amara Cole?" The woman replied, "Ms. Cole is cooperating fully as a protected whistleblower. Without her documentation, none of this would have surfaced." The room erupted in noise. Somewhere, in a quiet cafe 2 states away, Amara watched from a corner booth. Her coffee had gone cold. The television above the counter glowed with her image, the same one from the courtroom weeks ago. Frozen mid-breath, mid-defiance, she said softly, almost to herself. They finally said it. Marla sat across from her, tapping her pen against her notepad. You could come back. Public opinion's shifting. Amara shook her head. Public opinion isn't justice. It's weather. Then what is justice to you? Amara stared out the window. Something quieter, something that doesn't need applause. Evening descended over the city like penance. Sirens, camera lights, statements, apologies, a symphony of collapse. Officer Langley's suspension had turned into termination pending federal review. His police union filed a complaint, claiming unfair bias. The irony didn't escape anyone. On social media, side-by-side photos trended. Langley's smirk in court beside Amara's calm stare, captioned simply, "The tables turned." Days later, Amara returned to the courthouse, this time, not in a suit, not flanked by lawyers. She came alone, holding a sealed envelope. The clerk recognized her instantly. "Miss Cole, are you?" She smiled faintly. "Just here to close a file." She handed over the envelope, an official withdrawal of her civil suit. The clerk frowned. "You're dropping it." "Yes, after all this." Amara's voice was steady. "He lost his badge. The system's exposed. That's enough. I don't need to win twice." Outside, rain began to fall thin, silvery lines tracing down the courthouse steps. Marla joined her under an umbrella. "You really think they'll change?" Amara glanced at the gray sky. "Change isn't instant. It's erosion. Slow, quiet, inevitable." They stood in silence. Somewhere distant, a protest chant echoed through the streets. Names, not numbers. Faces, not data. Marla turned to her. "And you, what will you do now?" Amara exhaled. "Start something new. Smaller. Ethical AI consultancy. Real transparency. Maybe rebuild what I should have built from the start. Cole Analytics will hate that." "They already do," Amara said, smiling faintly. That night, Martin's office was empty. The lights flickered over stacks of shredded paper. Federal agents had already visited. His desk phone blinked a dozen missed calls from lawyers, reporters, ex-clients. He slumped in his chair, muttering, all that power, gone, on his monitor. A live broadcast, Amara Cole speaking at a Women in Tech conference remotely.com, composed, unbroken. "When systems fail you," she said, "don't break them for revenge. Break them for reconstruction." The applause thundered through the speakers. Martin lowered his head, the sound like judgment. Later, Amara walked alone along the harbor. The wind smelled of salt and renewal. Her phone buzzed, an email alert. Subject, case closed. Bodie DOJ concludes investigation. Reforms initiated. Langley indicted on prior misconduct. She read it twice, then locked her phone. In the distance, city lights shimmered against the black water, fractured, but beautiful. She whispered, almost inaudibly, "It's not about being right. It's about being seen." A slow breath left her chest, the kind that feels like release, not relief. End for the first time in months. Amara Cole allowed herself to simply exist, unwatched, unjudged, unafraid. 6 months later, the world had changed, not by revolution, but by recognition. Cole Analytics was gone, absorbed by another corporation after its collapsed. The headlines had grown smaller, the outrage quieter, but the echoes remained. Policies rewritten, investigations launched, community groups formed, and in a modest downtown building with glass walls and no security desk, a new plaque gleamed in the morning light. Cole Ethics Initiative, Technology with Accountability. Amara stood in front of it, coffee in hand. The lobby smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Inside, half a dozen engineers, young, diverse, focused, were setting up workstations. On the whiteboard, "Integrity is our infrastructure." Leela entered behind her, grinning. "Still weird seeing your name on the door again." Amara smiled faintly. "A little. Feels quieter this time. Better." Leela handed her a tablet. "You've got another interview request. CNN, BBC, and one from that tech ethics podcast." "Decline them all," Amara said. "You sure?" The visibility could help. Amara turned, eyes steady. "I don't need visibility anymore. I need continuity." That afternoon, she gave a private talk to her small team. The conference room was simple, sunlight streaming through blinds, notes scattered, voices hushed with respect. Amara stood at the front, hands clasped loosely. When I built my last company, she began, I believed transparency could exist inside corruption. I was wrong. Systems don't correct themselves, people do. She looked around at the faces, young coders, researchers, analysts, the next generation. So when you design something, she continued, ask yourself not what it can do, but what it might do when it's used by the wrong hands, because that's where the moral line begins. No applause, just quiet understanding, the kind that lingers. Later that evening, she received a call. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Miss Cole. The voice was low, male, hesitant. Yes. This is Officer Langley. Silence. Just the faint sound of traffic behind his voice. What do you want? She asked, tone even. I wanted to say, I lost everything. My job, pension, reputation. My wife left. I've been trying to understand why you didn't destroy me completely when you cut off. She said nothing. He continued. You could have ruined me in the media, but you didn't. Why? Her voice was calm, almost tired. Because destruction doesn't educate. Exposure does. He exhaled shakily. You made me face myself, Ms. Cole. Nobody ever has. I didn't make you, she said. You did that when you saw the truth and couldn't unsee it. He swallowed hard. I don't expect forgiveness. You're not getting it, she replied. But you can start by doing something useful with what's left. He was silent for a moment. Maybe I will. Then the line clicked dead. Amara stared at her phone, the hum of the city around her. For a moment, she felt no hatred, no victory, only the strange, weightless calm that comes after an ending that isn't quite an ending. Days later, Marla published one final feature, From Scandal to Standard, How Amara Cole Redefined Corporate Ethics. Her downfall became her contribution, it read. Her silence after victory speaks louder than any press conference. The article went viral, again, but this time without controversy. The world had grown used to her absence, her restraint, her refusal to perform. Months passed. The Cole Ethics Initiative thrived quietly. Partnered universities, grants for underrepresented students, consulting with governments on fair AI policy. One evening, after everyone left, Amara sat in her office watching the city lights blink awake. She opened her old laptop, the same one that once held the files that brought everything down. She opened a folder labeled evidence_archive, then paused. One keystroke could erase the entire record. The trauma, the data, the scandal. Her finger hovered over delete, then she stopped. She renamed the folder instead, Remember, and left it there. A knock came at her door. Leela peeked in. Still here? Amara smiled faintly. Almost done. Leela leaned against the frame. You ever think you'd get to this point? No, Amara said softly. But maybe that's the point. You never get to justice. You just keep walking toward it. Stood in companionable silence, the night stretching calm and endless beyond the windows. The next morning, Amara arrived early. The city was quiet. No cameras, no protests, no boardrooms, just a sunrise pink and gold spilling across the skyline. She stood outside, letting the light touch her face. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled, not the practiced corporate smile, not the polite one for reporters, but something private, unguarded, human, because she understood now, survival wasn't the reward. Integrity was. The world hadn't changed overnight. It had barely changed at all. But she had, and that was enough. In her office, on the wall behind her desk, hung a framed quote, simple, black letters on white paper. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Amara Cole looked at it one last time before sitting down, opening her notebook, and writing 3 quiet words at the top of a new page. Begin again, differently.